Alyssa and Josiah, coming off of a very late night and a very fun party last night, where I did get to talk to you a little bit, but I think we have to lead with the big news that everybody at the party could not miss.
Yeah, I mean, we partied as hard as a couple who's 8 months pregnant could party. It was
That
so
Sprite was delicious.
it was so I mean, like, everyone, we didn't tell the cast, they didn't know. So when they came in and saw us, just seeing everyone's like eyes get teary and just like, I mean, it was everything we wanted to be and more with surprising everyone. And we're just overwhelmed.
Season of surprises keeps coming.
Yeah, one more surprise at the very
Yeah.
end. So did your experience on the race, like, was that something that moved the needle for you in that direction? Because you had mentioned on the show that if
Yeah.
you won, this was definitely what you were going to do, but you did it
Yeah.
anyway.
Right. And you all talk about that, right? Like, don't
Yeah.
go, and like if you see them pregnant, think that like it can still happen even if they don't win. No, honestly, just it didn't move the needle. But what it did do is prove to us like, wow, we can handle extremely stressful scenarios. And honestly, it taught us a lot about ourselves and our communication for parenting. And I keep telling people, the Amazing Race doesn't stop. The Amazing Race is life. And I deeply, really believe that. Like, you go through detours and roadblocks and things you don't know if you'll ever agree upon and like be able to get through, but you got to lean on each other and just keep going, and we did that on the race. So if anything, it made us so excited to like continue this journey, continue our race.
Yeah, and I've never been on the Amazing Race, but I have been a parent, and I can tell you that nothing's going to prepare you for it.
Right.
Yeah, I think anyone who looks at the Amazing Race and thinks like, oh, they're ready to be parents after doing that is crazy.
Yeah.
But it's still like there is still some things that like we learned about each other, and we're not going to agree on everything. We don't in our normal life. We didn't on the race, but it helped us learn how to come to a middle ground. And I just think also having that experience made us feel like, okay, we did that, and we're ready now to settle down and like go on to the next chapter because we got to have this amazing experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think one thing that I loved about watching the two of you is how you're clearly such different personalities, but fundamentally, you have so much in common with the way that you approach problems and the way that you let each other complement your strengths and weaknesses. And was there anything specific that you learned about each other in this process?
Yeah, I learned that, I mean, I already knew that I had a great partner in life, but I learned that I have someone who like knows me so deeply that can actually like affect how I perform. And that's weird because like I'm used to being on teams and like experiencing like playing soccer, like doing anesthesia in an operating room with the team. But like it was really special to realize like I have a partner who can look at me in the eyes and in 2 seconds be like, I can see where you're at right now and I know what you need. And what you need is to get out of this mindset and to get into the mindset of like, I love you and we're doing great and you're crushing it. And pull me back in. And that's what Josiah did all season. So I mean, I just like I know I have the best partner in life, but also seeing it on the race and seeing how he like affected my day and like how we did was amazing.
I mean, for me, first of all, like Alyssa just is that person. I know that people keep doing it as if like, oh, Josiah, man, he just like really loves this girl. Anyone who meets Alyssa in real life realizes how incredible she is. And like, it's not just like some blind, like rose-colored glasses. She's absolutely incredible. So, but the other thing is what I learned and what we had a deep conversation on was like, I do have sometimes blind optimism. And whereas Alyssa gets to something and when we get to a stressful situation sometimes, and this is in real life too, and we've never talked about it, but we've always known it's there, right? Alyssa sees everything that can go wrong, and she's right. These are real realities that can happen, but I see everything that can go right. And like, neither one is good or bad, but we have to find a way to like meet in the middle and like understand each other's perspective and like get a grip on like what's actually happening, what's the reality. And we really talked in depth about this after the Express Pass, not on the race, when we watched it. And it was just really cool to be able to talk that out because of the race and to see it. It's like watching film for sports and being like, oh, this is, I thought we were going to go in there and eat every cheese, memorize it, and be out. And Alyssa was like, they're 40 minutes ahead. There's no world that's going to happen. We're going to lose today. And both of those realities were real to us, but we have to learn how to like see each other's perspective and meet somewhere. Either I give into her, she gives into me. We got to believe something in the middle or with each other. So anyways, all that to say that was a really cool like learning moment for us. I loved it.
I think that's fascinating, honestly, because we talk so much about learning from each other and learning about what you're capable of while you're out there, but I've never thought about it in terms of like having to watch yourself back and learn something.
Right, right. And we did. Watching it back was really, like I said, it was like watching film.
Mhm.
And it was really cool, you know. And I said that even before we went on the show, because there's a question that happens and it's just like, you know, they're like, how do you think you respond? Like if you see something that you didn't like about yourself or something, I'm like, that's a great learning experience, you know? That's like, so what an opportunity to be able to watch it back, to see ourselves in real time. How did we communicate in that moment? What did we do well and what did we do poorly? And like, it's really cool to like learn from that. And that's, I mean, that was a great thing that, you know, maybe you don't think about when you're going on, but it's been really cool for us.
Yeah, I'd like to know a little bit more about your background with The Amazing Race. Like when did you get the idea to apply for it? How did you get where you're going? How did you prepare? All that fun stuff.
We both watched Survivor and The Amazing Race growing up religiously with our families. And then when we started dating and fell in love, we started watching it together. And I think it was the first time that either one of us realized, like, oh, I have a really good partner to do this with. And we start, you know how you watch a show and think like, oh, I would do that roadblock or we would do this. And we started doing that. And then Josiah was like, we have to apply. We have to make a video. And honestly, my whole mindset on it was like, I'm not a reality TV personality. Like, they're not going to want me. He is like, I knew he'd be America's sweetheart. He is like, he's amazing. And I was just like, I'm awkward and I don't think I'm going to be what they want. But what I realized, and anyone who's applying should realize, is that like, they don't want everyone to be like that. Like, sometimes they just want the anxious, competitive person who's going to like be fun to watch her be just anxious. Like, so like, you just have to be yourself. And that's what I realized. And then when it became real, when the casting process became real, we, before it even was official at all, we just went in on everything. Like, we work out in our daily lives, but we started working out twice a day. We found everything to do in Philly. We went and shot archery, which is so cool that it came up in Portugal. We went and rock climbed. We learned how to tie knots. I took an orienteering compass reading class at REI. I took him out and like tried to get him to read a map because I'm like, maybe you're gonna have to do this by yourself on a challenge.
Thank God I didn't, because I
Yeah,
don't
he's not
understand
good at it.
that. All right.
And we just like, we did weird like target practice stuff with darts and we like just anything strange that we thought could come up, because you never know what it's going to be, but like being well rounded is the most important thing. So we just like literally every day we'd be like, what can we do today to make ourselves better for the race? We mapped out like old, like from previous seasons, we would map out their self-driving routes and just like look at them just to analyze like how it went, how far they usually drive, what we should prepare for. I would sit in the back seat of the car and navigate on directions I wrote out in towns that we don't really know around here. So we did a lot of preparing.
Yeah, a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, but in the end, it seemed like navigation might have been the downfall for the two of you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
What it,
It sucks that it was, because there were moments where we were really strong at navigating. In fact, I think every team this season, nobody was particularly amazing at navigating and no one was
Mhm.
particularly horrible at it. Like, everyone had their moments. Unfortunately, Portugal, we drove so much that day. If you look at that day, it was like an hour and a half drive this way, an hour and a half drive this way, back to Porto, just so much. So that was just a lot of driving. But when we got to the train station, we got hit by the car, we were frazzled. And then next thing you know, we kind of just made a turn that wound up being on a highway. And we were all out of sorts because then our directions were just like basically out the window. We had to stop and get new directions. And it sucks. We were told that we were like 3 minutes away from where the parking was. And we just wound up on a highway and wasting time.
yeah.
Our navigation was good, but in that moment, it wasn't.
I mean, yeah, after the getting rear-ended, uh, we were really shook up after that. And that took me out of the race. You know, like, car crashes are real. You know, nobody cares if you're on The Amazing Race. Like, you get hit by a car.
Mhm.
So getting rear-ended, getting out, being like, okay, we're okay. But it was just like a shocking thing. And we're surrounded by cars. And we just, start driving, which we normally don't do. We map things out and then we get to that. So then after we got rear-ended, we were no longer like being like, okay, now where's our next location? We just start driving and we get on a highway. And then well, then we still made it to the train station and the train got delayed like 3 times for over like 20 minutes. That was heartbreaking. And we lost in the puzzle. And at the end of the day, we lost, and I take it, and it is what it is. But I'd put our navigation and driving up against a lot of people. I think that we did really, really well with it. But that day wasn't our day, and that's how the cookie crumbles sometimes. It's how the cards fold.
Yeah, so when the guy rear-ended you, that
Yeah.
was, how do you have to resolve that on The Amazing Race?
Yeah, we had to go out and like make sure that he's okay.
Mhm.
We didn't know really. At first, we were really shocked, and
Just looking at our crew being like, what do we
What do we
do?
do? And they do go over it with you in detail, these things. So
Mhm.
like we have to go out and be like, hey, are you okay? And if everyone's okay, and that other person, regardless of what happens, says I'm okay and I'm good to leave. In this case, he was very excited to leave because he hit us, and we were like, well, we want to go too. So it was really no issue. It wasn't a problem. But if that person's like, no, like you're gonna stay here, make sure that I'm okay, my car's okay, we would wait there and make sure that everything gets resolved no matter what. And make sure that other person, they're the priority really. And I understand.
I learned that if there's damage to anything, even like someone else's phone, like when Han dropped the person's phone, you have to stay until that person, which I don't think she broke it or anything, but I'm just using this
Mhm.
as an example. If there's anything like that that happens, you have to wait there until the other party agrees that like whatever compensation or whatever report needs to be filed, whatever is done, and then you can go on.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fascinating. Like, I don't know, I'm a deep nerd. I live for that kind of stuff. But
Me
I'm
too.
so excited that I had the chance to talk to the two of you, and very bummed that you went out when you did. Would have loved to see more of you on the show, and I hope we hear more from you in the future.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jessica. Thank you for everything this season.
Yeah, you've been
It's
awesome.
fun listening to you guys.
It's been so fun. You make my mom's day all the time.
I love that. I'm sorry I didn't get to talk to your father-in-law. You said you were going to introduce me.
You know what? I know, and that's heartbreaking. And you know what I've loved too, and I said it last night and this morning. I wanted a photo with you all because my mom loves you all. But last night, like on the rooftop, was just like I honestly kind of like we were shocked. We did not know it was gonna be like that. Like
Yeah.
It was
we had
wild, yeah.
It was. I mean, it was so great, but we were totally shocked. And Bill would have loved to have met you guys, and my mom would love a photo with you guys. So I don't know. We missed a
Well,
great opportunity.
Next time.
You can screenshot the YouTube video and send it to him.
Yeah, exactly. That we were there. Yeah, my mom was pumped.
All right. Well, thanks very much. And don't be
Thank you so
strangers,
much,
okay?
guys. Okay, bye.
Bye.
Thank
Jack and Carson, we stan a couple of Amazing Race kings.
Girl, we stand you. We
No,
stand
we
you
stand
for
you.
real.
You are our queen. With this Golden Girls background, I mean, work.
It's the first thing I think of when I think of Miami.
Exactly.
So how are you feeling this morning? That was an epic party. I think that's the biggest Amazing Race party I've ever been to.
Oh my God.
Wow.
Thank you. It was so, I mean, you saw us. We were weeping.
Oh my God.
I wept in more people's arms than I have ever wept. Like, it was so beautiful. It was so incredible. Obviously, there's a whole host of emotions running through our brains. Like,
Yeah.
so grateful, so thankful, so proud. Also sad. Like, I'm sad it's coming to a close. Like, it's been such a beautiful period of our lives.
Yeah.
Like, surprise, getting people to understand this part of ourselves that we've known for about a year. It's just all sorts of stuff, but overwhelmingly gratitude.
Feel like I'm like more dehydrated today than I ever was on the race because of how much I cried. You probably saw I was having a moment, but it was like all because of so much love in the air and releasing this big secret, and it was magical, and I wouldn't have it any other way.
Well, I really loved watching the two of you. You had so many like ups and downs throughout the season that it was so gratifying, because I want to go back and talk about Bulgaria a little bit.
Yeah,
Let's do it.
Because this was, it felt like you rolled a nat 20 on that one, honestly.
After a nat 1 on
Yeah.
the
Yes.
survival check or whatever, yeah.
Yeah. So you end up, you go from thinking that you were going to be eliminated to then coming out on top and kind of staying on top for the rest of the race. How did you get that? How did you get yourselves back on track?
Well, something that we like, this mantra that we had going into the race, but also especially once we figured out it was a season of surprises, that there were going to be all these twists coming our way, we said these obstacles can always be opportunities. Use obstacles as opportunities. Out, but instead it invigorated us, right? It said like, oh, we were for sure going out and we still made it. So now we know we can do anything, right? It made us even more confident, even more calm, even more grateful about everything that we're experiencing.
Yeah.
You know, there's a world where that would freak you out and then throw you off, but we try to use a mental shift, and that works to our advantage.
And you know what? I think we were uniquely gifted an opportunity in that moment of like, we were so sure we were going home. And so that feeling of like, well, if we know we're going home, we're not gonna, completely fold. We're gonna hold it together. We're still gonna be happy. We're gonna have fun. And I think that gave us so much like, just it took so much stress away, especially in the final leg when it was like, that's when you could get the most stress. But it was like, we knew that like, if we had gone home and we had been 7th place or whatever, like we would have been happy. And I think that lesson of like, okay, and then we're going to give it our best. But if we get 2nd or 3rd, like we did the damn thing.
Exactly.
And we had a good fucking time.
Yeah.
Sorry.
You
Yeah.
can swear on this podcast.
Okay.
Well, yeah, like I said in that episode, I said like what Carson an hour ago would give to be in the position that we were in an hour later. Like, and I think that still continued to ring through my brain. It was like in the final 3, right? It's like, this is, even if we were in 3rd place, it was like, this is a gift, right? And you could look at that being in 3rd in the final leg and saying, this is a curse, and it's like completely different sort of, you can just shift your mindset. But I think that was a gift that leg gave us.
So you talked in the final leg about pulling the attributes of your favorite D&D character types to kind of coalesce into this like Voltron of super
Yeah.
abilities. How exactly, like, was there any point where one of your nerdy pursuits specifically helped you with something along the race?
Yeah, I mean, I think literally all the time.
Yeah.
Like, and again, it's just so many. It is a physical game. Obviously, the Amazing Race is pretty physical, but I think it's way more of a mental game. And so those mantras that we had, those like, I'm surprised that was the first time they edited that in, because we had been saying it actually throughout the race, is like when we needed it, we needed to feel, what do I feel like when I pretend to be a ranger, right? I feel accurate, right? And therefore my body reacts to what my mind feels,
Yeah,
And so if I
completely.
need accuracy, how can I get in that mental state?
I tapped in that hoverboard
Yes.
roadblock. This is more specific, but like one of my favorite characters I've ever played in D&D was named Spleen, and he's a monk and he's a fairy. So a monk, you have to be, it's all about acrobatics, and Spleen can fly. And so during that time when I was like getting in the water, I was like, I am Spleen. I know how to be Spleen. I know exactly how Spleen works. And if I can lock into that, like he moves his body in a way that maybe I don't in the real world, but like he knows exactly what he's doing, and he can fly in a way that maybe I can't, but he knows what it means to be suspended in air and how to move your body in that way. And I honestly think that really helps. And maybe that's ridiculous, but yeah.
But that's what it is, yeah. And
No.
yeah, I mean, Jack always talks about like in our games, in whatever game, D&D is emotional. All games are emotional, but particularly D&D. But also, like every game that we go to, we take being silly really seriously. And like having those 2 pillars work with and against each other was a huge asset for us. When we needed seriousness, we knew how to access that. When we needed silliness, that we knew how to access that,
Yeah, like literally, I was probably getting too serious and too worried during that challenge. And then right as I dunk in the water, I'm like, there's a crab. Like, I'm like, I don't know. I needed a little just to not think about the race for literally 2 seconds. So I think that also is sort of a superpower we have, is just to like not, I mean, take it seriously by being silly. Like
Yes.
silliness
Mhm.
is a weapon
Yes.
and that you employ, and silliness is a superpower. And I think that was like literally what got us through the race.
Yeah.
Well, I think having somebody that you can be silly with is also a key thing. So,
Yeah.
how did you two know that you were going to be each other's amazing race partners? Like, when is the moment when you know that?
I mean, I feel like it's always been like that. That's who, I mean, I feel like you have to know each other so well, right? And know how to communicate, but also we both, not only from a personal standpoint of being able to communicate, but also our interests,
Yeah.
right? Like doing something like this, doing something crazy, doing a game like this, it feels like there's no other option. Like in a good way, like it's the best. Like
Also, we've been so many things to each other.
Yeah.
Like we have been roommates, we have been best friends. I was his boss
Yeah.
for a while. Now, of course, we have a podcast together. We play D&D together. Like we sort of do everything together. And like, you know, they talk a lot about like siblings on the race being a really difficult relationship, but in a way, I feel like we are like brothers. And so I think
Yeah.
it was and also, I just hold Carson to like the highest esteem. Like Carson's good at everything. So selfishly, I was like, lock in because I'm applying. So come on.
Yes, I mean that literally saying that's what's so crazy is like I think someone you really respect, I think is the perfect person to go with you on the race.
Yeah.
Because that way you are gonna treat them well and also you believe in them and also they're probably gonna if you think they're good at stuff, they probably are gonna be good at stuff. You know, like
So, is there anything that you learned about each other? Like, even though you know each other so well going in, what did you learn about each other while you were out there?
Wow, what a great question.
it's a great question. I've been asked that.
Yeah, I think I learned about Carson that, I mean, Carson is an unbelievable friend. And I think, like, I knew this before the race, but even more afterwards, like, it's from womb to tomb. Like, we're going to the ends of life together. And I think, yeah, we had this really deep respect for each other that we honored the whole race of like, we're a unit. You know what I mean? We are in this together. And I think, yeah, and just learning that like Carson's my dude, like Carson's my guy. And like, no matter what happens, like that friendship will last a lifetime. That's like cheesy, but it's true.
No, I'm like getting emotional. I mean, it's like, yeah, that is so true. And when you see so many dynamics, right? Like you see siblings, you see like brothers, you see best friends, you see all sorts of dynamics. And what's interesting is like we were just talking with some of the other teams and they were talking about like Pops and Jeff talk about all the time. Like when my son was born, I realized like I had a best friend. And what I realized was no matter what your dynamic is, any dynamic can be best friends.
Yeah.
Right? Like your son can be your best friend.
Yeah.
Your best friend can be your best friend. Your sister can be your best friend.
Yeah.
Your partner could be your best friend. Right? Best friend really
It's
just
a choice.
really just means it's a choice and it
Mhm.
is someone you really respect and really admire and really like vibe with, right? And so that was a realization I had. I think on the race we were like we've always considered each other like our best friends, but also I was like, but also there are sides of us that are brothers, right?
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean we have to bicker. And we can still be best friends and now, of course, sort of like brothers, like for life, you know? It's just-
Yeah, well, you have to be vacation partners now because you've got Expedia points.
I know,
Yeah.
right? When did those hit?
Yeah.
I'm ready to go on vacation now.
we got Helsinki to get to.
So, I have to ask, what are you going to do with the money?
You know, it's a good question. Because that hasn't hit yet, I still feel like we haven't like conceptualized it too
They
much.
could have been making it up, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
well,
literally.
it's like, yeah, a joke. But they well, something we've been saying is this doing the race kind of was this like love letter to the communities that we love, like weirdos and freaks and nerds that we consider ourselves to be. And so who knows what it's gonna do, but I would love to create more of that community for other people, right? Like those communities are what have inspired us to support each other, to be passionate about things, to learn new things, be curious, to love games. Like if we were to start a game store or design a board game or make a tavern in New York City, or we have so many different ideas of ways that we could like continue to feed back into the community that we felt like gave us the power to win.
Yeah.
That is what I see the money going to, but
Yeah, I
who
think
knows?
it's just money. This money is freedom for us from, the chains of capitalism a little bit. Like obviously not entirely, but like this gives us a lot more wiggle room to like chase our dreams. And our dreams are always changing and developing. And but it's gonna just give us the opportunity to like live life the way we want. It's a beautiful thing.
Well, and I could definitely see the love in that room for the two of you. You had such a huge community that came out and so many diverse and interesting personalities. Like I think that's just testament to the kind of people that gravitate toward your personalities.
Oh, that's really,
Thank
I'm
you.
like, I'm gonna cry again. I
Oh,
can't cry
it-
again.
it's an emotional day, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we're so lucky. Like, I think the real thing about nerds, right, is that it just means you're passionate about something.
Yeah.
And we surround ourselves with passionate people. And I think that is what life is all about, is like finding people who rock with you and rock with you hard and just love life and like go after things and have fun with it. Like that's what being a nerd is like do your thing and do it with vigor.
Yeah. And yeah, I don't know if you were there for the drag show. Were you there when
Oh,
when
of
the drag
course.
parts- Okay, good. Yeah. Because that like those are two people that if for those who weren't there, we had a drag performance by two people we play D&D with, Jordan and Macy. And again, these are the types of people I asked them like literally like a week ago, like, would you guys dress up in drag as the envelope from The Amazing Race and Phil Kogan? And they were like, no question, rehearsals tomorrow. Like that is the type of people we surround ourselves with and that we aspire to be, right? So it feeds back into itself. So I'm so like I'm so glad like people got to see our community in that space as well.
Yeah, well, it was just tremendous. And congratulations to the two of you again.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. You are seriously the best.
Yeah, thank you for
ever.
all the love.
Yes.
Well, of course. And don't be strangers, okay? We'll hopefully get a chance to catch up some more in the
We'll
future.
be seeing you.
Yeah,
We'll be
you know,
seeing you.
you know we won't.
All right.
Reach out for anything and we'll be there.
Oh, thanks, guys. Han and Holden, congratulations on a second place finish. That was fantastic.
Thank you so much, Jessica.
We're stoked.
I'm sorry I didn't have a chance to say hi last night, but it was a crazy party.
Yes, it was a very fun one as well.
Yes, very fun. I want to start with cheese, okay? If that's cool.
Oh, hell yeah. Let's talk about cheese.
Let's talk
In
about
my-
the cheese.
All right, which
All
cheese,
good.
mozzarella or a million cheese?
I want to talk about the million cheeses.
Okay.
How was the aftermath of that? Were you okay?
My dad, he actually called me up for that instance and was like, that was such a screwed up challenge. Like I would have TMI something toilet. And I was like, yeah, I did TMI something toilet after that. Very rough, but we got through it somehow. Both the challenge and the aftermath of it.
Yeah. Dude, my tummy just hurt, like, dude, it was enough to kill a horse. It was enough to kill my stomach, like that's just how I felt.
Well, how many times did you have to actually taste it?
God, dude, enough for me to be full on cheese. Like, honestly, like, yeah, like I remember a couple months later, I was at a wine and cheese party and I was just like, dude, I have no interest in eating the cheese. Yeah, because also like something that they didn't show in the challenge was that you had to go through all of them. Like they wouldn't stop you when you got it wrong. They would like go all through all of them, right? And so you would do all 9 cheeses and like you would taste them every single time. So you're doing that, then you're practicing. It was a lot of cheese. Like, thank you to the race for that wonderful experience. My stomach doesn't feel the same way, but like I am very grateful for it.
Yeah, well, something that speaks to your talents, maybe we'll switch gears. Han, I was so impressed by the number of times it came up that your talent for surfing and your love of surfing ended up getting you further in the race. And then at the end, it seems counterintuitive that the flyboard would end up posing such a challenge. What was the difference there?
Yeah, for sure. I think the difference, and this is something that I've come to accept in like just the months after the race, is like, yeah, that should have been Han's challenge, but I think like something people don't realize, or like even myself, something I don't realize is like I'm only human, and like some days you have great days, some days you have not the best days, and some days you have like very mediocre days. And I think for us that day, it just wasn't our day. It wasn't my day. And I don't want that to like shirk the responsibility of like Han could have crushed the hoverboard challenge. But I think like we were a team that had played on the bottom the entire time. And when it was time to actually play at the front for $1 million, we had no idea what to do. And I think like we have very strong mental fortitude. Like I do not want to downplay that, but it's just a different race when you're at the top. And I don't think we were ready. And I don't mean that in a way of like downplaying our talent, but like just wasn't our day that day.
Well, but I think it's interesting, actually, the fact that you started out in the bottom and then sort of kind of incrementally crawled your way up to the top. You never see that on The Amazing Race. Like it always seems so stratified. And it seemed like you were really figuring things out in real time, and that was really fun to watch. Did it seem like that for you at the time?
For sure. And I think something that like Holden and I want to highlight is like, it doesn't look like we're that great at challenges. We look like a freaking mess. But one thing we're really good at is A, surviving, and B, like being super adaptable and like finding a way to wiggle ourselves out of like any situation that comes our way. And like technically, like we were never eliminated from the race, which is like kind of crazy.
Yeah.
But I think that like it was really awesome opportunity to like work with my brother on this one thing and like have a common goal in which like we were like our relationship was the project. And like it was really fun to figure out like how we could be better the next leg. Like every single leg we saw it as an opportunity to be like, let's prove to Han and Holden that like we can be better. And so I think like just having that mentality really, really helped, along with just like being super adaptable.
Yeah, which speaks to the really wonderful thing that came up about competition and about how it was really about being better than your previous self. I thought that was so powerful last night. It was such a great line.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, that was just how I felt. I mean, like it was like a very long and exhausting day, but I think that like we're not, it would be a lie to say that we aren't disappointed that we didn't win. Like we are disappointed, just like a tiny bit.
You're allowed to be.
Yeah, but I think that like we are just so proud of what we were able to get out of it and put in. And I genuinely do believe that like if we were just frustrated because we didn't win, then there would be a lot worse signs for us in our relationship. But like we did our best, and like that's all we can do, you know? Like that's what a competitor is supposed to do.
And like even what Holden said, just like there's no shame in second place. Like considering that we were an hour and a half behind after leg 3 and like we're fighting for like second to last place, like it's insane. Like we were fighting for 11th at one point, and now like I think like we said during the puzzle challenge, it's just like leg 2 us would have killed to be in this position, and like just like having gratitude throughout the race was something that was really important to us as well.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's the season of surprises, so I think the two of you had more surprises than anybody else.
Yeah, good and bad. You turn on elimination, like whoop, second place finish. Like we were so lucky and we're so grateful.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about your experience with The Amazing Race prior to going on the show. Like, did you always watch it growing up? When did you decide that this was something you were going to do together?
I think that like everybody, okay, that's an overgeneralization, but I feel like a lot of people who watch The Amazing Race like have like an inkling or like a feeling of like this would be really fun to do. Like regardless of camera on you or not, like if there was no camera on you, I feel like a lot of people would like really, really love to do it.
Oh yeah,
With camera,
100%. I'd do it if there was no cameras.
yeah. Like no, with camera, I think that like definitely shortens your pool. I never thought of it as like a camera thing. I always looked at it like, dude, like these people got to go to Namibia, and then the next day they were flying to like, I don't know, like some like Slovakia. And that's probably not a leg. Like, but like it was just so cool to me that like they were able to do that. And like I had known as a child that I'd always wanted to do it. And like Han and I would grew up watching the show because our dad introduced it to us. And like I remember like growing up, we were like, oh, like you would do this challenge, like a lot of people do. And like it all came to a head last December, not like December 2024, but December 2023. I didn't want to study for my finals. So instead, like Netflix had like The Amazing Race, like 2 seasons of The Amazing Race. Instead of studying, I binged both seasons. And I was like, whoa, dude. I hadn't watched race in probably 3 or 4 years to that point. And I was like, wow, I forgot how great this show is and how fun this would be. And Han was simultaneously taking a sabbatical. And I was like, Han, I think we should like do The Amazing Race. I think it would be so fun. And I think that like we could win. And Han was like, dude, I don't know. Like I'm already traveling. I'm already having my fun. And I was like, no, but dude, it's The Amazing Race. And so like this and that happens, this and that being like, we should do it. No, and like poke. Eventually she's like, fine, we'll submit an audition video. We submit our audition video, we get incredibly lucky. And we're invited onto the show. And like it was, so thank God I didn't do well on that final, but I will take the grade I got in that class for doing The Amazing Race. Because not only did I pass the class, but I got to do the entire Amazing Race.
C's get degrees, baby.
Exactly. Here we
That's
go.
right.
Don't tell our parents.
I mean, that's what you call the guy that graduated at the bottom of the class medical school. You call him doctor, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Is there anything that we didn't get to see that you wish we had seen?
I really think that some like Han talked about like how we were very critical of our performances and added to it. And like I think that it is very easy to see us as like, oh man, like this is the leg they're finally cooked on. But I do think that like there were so many conversations that we had where it wasn't just sibling bickering, but it was like, okay, Han, like this leg needs to like we need to add urgency to the sauce, right? Okay, now that we have urgency, we need to maintain that sense of urgency, but now we need to add trust in our own decision making, right? Then now that we've had that, like add those two, let's maintain those two. Let's add a third one for this next leg, right? Then now let's add trust into each other, right? Now let's add groundedness. Like let's add all of these things. Let's add breathing. Like the reason why like I got aggressive about breathing is because I do feel like I can't remember. I need my journal for reference, but I do remember that breathing was one of the ingredients that we like decided that we needed to add. And then I was just like, breathe.
But I think just like long story short, like we are strategists, and although we got lucky a lot of times, I do think that like we created a lot of our own luck, and we're resilient. And I think you can't get second on The Amazing Race based on luck alone.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of work that goes into it, and like there's so there's so many conversations we had off camera, like heated arguments, like just like trying to navigate our relationship, and it was like anything but easy. And I think that like knowing all of that context, like it's truly incredible that we even got second place. So I don't know. I love my brother. I'm just really proud of him.
Yeah, I think that like, not to quote the bad guy in Titanic, but he has some line where it's like a real man makes his own luck. And I think that's what we did. It's like I don't agree with the bad guy in Titanic in any way, except for with that line. But I think that like we put ourselves in position to get lucky. And like
we seized it.
And yeah, and like it's not like, yeah, we took the opportunities when they came.
Yeah, well, I think you raced an incredible race that was so much fun to watch, and I'm really glad that we got to see you this long in it. And congratulations again on your second place finish. We wish you all the best.
Thank you so much, Jessica.
Thanks. I will record. Jonathan and Anna, congratulations on a strong finish. It's very
you.
exciting to get to talk to you. How are you doing?
Good, good. Yeah, we're good.
I wanted to start off by it felt like you had a really good final leg. It felt like I mean, I know you didn't win. It was stressful, but Jonathan, I gotta commend you. You came off as you had said in the penultimate leg that you were not one of those people that could just sit back and enjoy the experience if you knew that you were not going to win. But then it seemed like you did exactly that thing in the final leg.
Yeah, it's because, there was just so much pressure on us. We had put so much pressure on ourselves to just get to that final three, first of all.
Whatever.
And after that, I think we both said to ourselves, well, it's up to fate, because
100%.
so many things could happen in the final three that you're just not prepared for, as we saw.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the pressure really for us was just getting to the final three. And so I was almost harder on myself in leg 11 than
Right.
I was in leg 12. And I think you pointed that out perfectly, because by the time we're at like 12 and I realized she's not gonna get through this flyboarding task very easily, I kind of accept my fate at that point. I said it's over. It is what it is.
I think you told Phil in the mat something along the lines like, I don't know if even with perfect navigation we would have been able to win this leg. Like it was just not.
It wasn't made for us.
It was not made for us. Yeah.
I think one of the things on The Amazing Race that I think is really hard to accept is like how much of it is out of your control, how much of it you can't really plan for. And I think that can be
A lot of it, yeah.
Yeah, you can see that taking a lot out of people. But Anna, I have to say, having to go into a water roadblock on that very last leg, it felt to me like you grappled with your fears, but you came out positive on the other side of it. Do you think that you're a little more comfortable now in the water after everything you've been through on the race?
Is it better or worse now?
I don't know. To be honest, again, when you go into each challenge, for me it was just get it done, whatever it takes. And when you go in with that mentality, essentially it helps, right? It's almost like I don't have time to feel all my feelings. I just need to do it. And I'm so focused, like there's so much on the line. But yeah, the minute I heard flyboarding, I was like, what is that? The clue said above and beyond. I'm thinking parasailing. I'm thinking helicopters. This is the finale. There's gonna be something, I don't know, something to require heights. And no, it was more like above and under.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was the hardest thing I had ever done. But I am proud that I didn't take a penalty. I mean, I was out there, I want to say over an hour after Jack left. I was just going and going and going, and I just didn't want to give up, regardless of how long I was going to be out there in the water.
And it was just it was so kind of darkly ironic, because we had just done this save task. And, at this point, we didn't know we were going to be getting wet for the entire leg. So we did the save. We go out there and we rescue the dummy.
Yeah.
And if you actually watch it back, she does this really funny thing as we're pushing the jet ski into the water. Like, she doesn't even want to touch the water with her feet. We get the jet ski in halfway and she goes, oop, the water comes up and she doesn't even want to get her feet wet.
And I jump on the
jet ski, and he's like, this would work a lot better, ma'am, if you come up and push. But she didn't want to get wet. She was just adamant that she would not get wet. And then 15 minutes later, she is just getting crushed by the water, and it's like, oh my gosh, it's a nightmare.
And I think I was terrified because I remember the ocean in Bali. You're literally taking steps on the sand, and out of nowhere, it just drops, and that was terrifying.
Yeah.
So as soon as I see that, the water starting, I'm terrified. I'm like, nope, I don't want to touch it.
That had to be hard. I can't imagine.
So what did your girls think about watching their parents on the race?
Well, they haven't seen it yet.
So they haven't seen the last three, because when I specifically have bad behavior, we have to sort of talk to them and prepare them. You don't just want them to see that without there being some discussion. So they haven't seen the last three episodes yet, actually.
Discussion, apologies, context, and you understand the process of of what to do and what not to do, and what happened,
what a partner should not do. And so
those are
it takes time to explain those things to our girls.
Yeah. But also, it doesn't help that the show airs midweek at 9:30.
Yeah.
Oh, I know. Tell me about it.
Right, you understand.
Yeah. I understand. And yeah, I was specifically curious about that because it, you know, I think we can't get around talking about it. It was there were some tough moments for the two of you. And it was a high pressure situation. And I think it was at times, I think we didn't get the full scope of what was going on there. And I wanted to give you, I mean, we've talked about it, like Mike and I have talked about it a lot about what you've said outside of the show on the podcast. I would love to have a little bit more context around that.
I think what's important to understand is that we learned very quickly that all of the things that happen out of your control, all of the things that this plan of what you think the experience is going to be, when it doesn't happen that way, with someone like Jonathan, who is neurodivergent, it's just explosive. You know, you go into the race prepared. He thinks he knows what this is going to be like and what the experience is about to happen. He's seen just about every single season. He understands the rules front and back. And so it's very difficult for him when things don't go as planned, when there's last minute changes, when things don't seem the way they're supposed to. And sometimes when things don't seem fair. And I think for someone like Jonathan, that is just, I think, what drove a lot of these really intense moments. And I didn't know how to help him. I didn't know.
Well, you didn't know what was going on either.
Well,
and I didn't know, so just it was really tough for both of us.
And I think we mentioned that in one of our recaps. As early as leg 1, he told me at the end of the leg, this is not what I thought it was going to be. I think you told Phil, this is, I forget your exact words, but he wanted to go home, and I essentially convinced him to stay.
Oh wow, I had not heard that. Wow.
Yeah.
So the fact that even with now knowing that, you know, he actually has a disorder, and that in the blend with how intense his competition is, the season of twists and surprises and these hyper competitive teams that have just so many gifts and abilities and privileges, and then to make it to the final 3, I mean, that in itself, it was a miracle. Seems like, yeah.
It was. That leg 11 actually was a miracle because we were chasing our tails in Porto.
Yeah, we
I feel like all day. We were fighting. It was ugly. And I just thought for sure we were going home. And then we had that.
Look at that. Jonathan's amazing at puzzles. And I should be starting a tiling business. I don't know how I was able to plaster that thing so quick.
The broken tile was the impressive one.
Yeah, I know. I told Josiah and Alyssa, if that was anything other than a puzzle, we would have been gone.
Yeah.
And so we just, it was just.
It's been a water challenge. We wouldn't.
It felt almost heaven sent when we get there and we see that it's a puzzle. So that was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It looked like a fun puzzle too.
It was, and it just allowed me to really calm down because we just had this super heated argument. And so doing the puzzle just allowed me to just go into my Zen state and just do my thing. And
funny thing, during this challenge, because we're just going at it, we're just yapping and yapping back and forth from the train, so much that we barely even notice Josiah and Alyssa are there. We don't even pay attention to where we're supposed to get off the train. I actually have to see Josiah and Alyssa running. I'm like, oh, I guess this is a stop.
We were so into this argument we were having. It was like we had television.
But then we get to the puzzle and we literally say 2 words to each other the entire time. It's like we just zone in.
Talk, yeah.
He is in his zone, and I don't even say anything to him. He's like moving like a machine. It's like Neo from the Matrix. And I'm just observing how to plaster this wall, and then we get to work.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's the neurodivergent superpower aspect of it, isn't it?
Right.
After we learned this, I told Jonathan, it is so sad that so many people don't understand how special having this gift is. It is just not what everybody else expects from you, you know, based on our social forms. But I'm like, you have a gift.
But on the flip side, you know, when you're a neurodivergent person in a neurotypical world, there are major difficulties. You know,
it's not built for you.
It's not meant for me. And so one of the
so many waves against you.
I was telling Mike, like that first night after the first episode, I went to Reddit to kind of see like what did people think of me, and I was surprised. I said, oh my god, they hate me.
Never go on Reddit.
That quick.
So one of the
never to go on Reddit
and one of the things I realized is just like after all the research and the work I've done with, you know, my doctor and my therapist, when you are a neurodivergent person and you're kind of considered abnormal, you don't always fit into the norm, especially when it comes to like social interactions. And so I feel like when people are seen as different, they're automatically seen as like abnormal, and it just doesn't help things when you're just different.
Mhm.
When
It
they
helps the
give you
perception of
negative, they
yourself.
give you a negative context.
It's almost seen as negative, we just anything different is
Mhm.
negative, and that's one of the difficulties that I've had, my whole life. And
Mhm.
I never knew why until a couple of months ago. So
Yeah.
I mean,
And I'm sure
that's a hell of a way to find out, is to go in front of 2 million people and see yourself back on
the
television.
worst way to find out that you're autistic is going on a reality show and
don't
just
do it.
having to broadcast
Yeah.
in front of millions
Yeah.
of people.
Yeah. And I mean,
Would not recommend. 0 out of 10.
I can also imagine how productions like, what is wrong with this guy? And the
Yeah.
negative connotation that they
Yeah.
put
I think automatically
on
just
you.
when they saw like anything that didn't
Any-
fit their kind of narrow view of what normal is, it was just automatically seen as bad, and that just did not help things, I feel like,
No.
at all. So
Yeah.
And I'm guessing that's probably not how you were in casting.
no, I was high masking. Are you familiar with that term? So in
Yeah.
casting,
Well, I'm
I'm like,
neurodivergent, so
yeah, so okay,
That's
cool.
okay, yeah.
So I'm like, I have my mask on fully, but as soon as you get on the show, that mask starts to show some cracks.
Mhm.
And by the time we're in like 10, 11, it's just completely gone. It's
Well, also because this was your dream for so long, so that there's just one goal, right? And it's just to get into the show. So you just so focused into doing it for that purpose.
Mm.
But when you get on the race and there's just you're thrown into this different world,
yeah.
that was insane. It was so hard for me to like be like, babe, this is what you wanted. Let's try to
She
make
was
the most of
she
it.
would constantly
You're
have to
gonna
remind
regret it if
me.
we go home.
Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
was like I had to remind him why we were there. And it was so hard for me. But
Especially in the middle of a
eventually-
leg. Because I feel
Oh
like sometimes in the
gosh.
middle of a leg,
It
when
was
something
so
would go wrong,
stressful.
you couldn't reach me. And
No.
it wasn't until we reached the
No.
pit stop that, okay, I can decompress now. It's like it's like a decompression chamber. And
And it's so interesting. A lot of people are like, "Oh, Anna's such a doormat. She doesn't respond. Why does it look like he's abusing her?" And I'm just like, it's so hard to understand that when he's having a such an explosive reaction to the point where he's about to completely shut down or have an anxiety attack. Me complaining, me trying to tell him to calm down, me trying to say all of these things, not only are they not helpful, but they're actually hurtful and unkind. And so I knew that much without even knowing these diagnoses.
Mhm.
yeah.
Well, having lived with him, I think, yeah,
What was that?
having lived with him, you would kind of subconsciously figure that out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it all made sense once he was properly diagnosed
Yeah.
by a doctor. Like, okay, now we can move forward.
But I do want to make sure I get this in, because one thing that was clear to me off the show, like having seen like what you were talking about in your recaps and commenting on our YouTube channel, was exactly how much preparation you did and how much strategizing and how much research went into your preparation for the race. And I want to hear more about that.
How did we start? What was like the first thing?
This is called Jonathan. I'm very like laid back. He's just so like method. I mean, he's a you're a software developer. Like he loves computers. He loves to, give someone information and get the same feedback in return. Like
And here's the thing, just we had a whole plan of things we wanted to do, archery,
Bible.
kayaking, all these things. But we have kids. That there's certain
That makes it
realities
really difficult.
that make it difficult to do all these things. So we didn't have time to do everything. We couldn't do rock climbing. We couldn't do all these things.
Yeah.
And so I think the main thing we did was trail running. We did a lot of trail running.
For the record, I lost 25 pounds
Yeah.
in 3.5 months.
Yeah.
As soon as we got a call from the casting director, or I'm sorry, one of the casting producers, I just went running every day. He was like, okay, we gotta lift some weights here and there. I lost 25 pounds.
And here's a bit of irony. So because on the race, you don't, I mean, at least I feel like definitely with older seasons, but even not so much with newer seasons, you just don't see as much water stuff as you did with this season. I mean, to have 10 water challenges on a season, that's
26 had a water challenge.
I mean, 10 is a record.
Maybe 2.
10 is completely unprecedented, including an all water finale. So it's just,
I think kind of like 10 or 11 total.
So
Yeah.
we never really did any serious swimming prep, but the week, I want to say the week before we went on the show, I said, you know, babe, do you want to go hop in the pool and, you know, maybe learn how to swim? And it's funny because before this, whenever we would take the girls to the pool, I would always try to encourage her to get in the water, and she would always say, no, I don't want to. She was just so opposed to getting into the water. So the week before,
Instead of saying I'm terrified, I said, no, not today.
the week before, I finally managed to get her into the water, and our training basically got to the point where she could put her nose underwater and blow bubbles, and we said, okay, time to go on the race, and yeah, that's how far she got in her swimming training.
Water vest, so I wasn't super worried, but yeah, anyway.
Definitely
But
more prepared for the water.
like Jonathan and I had never traveled out of the United States before the race, or traveled more than, I don't know, I think our longest airplane
Canada?
ride was like 4 hours.
Okay, yeah.
Wow.
Oh, I mean, preparing for that was my biggest anxiety. So I think that's why when we were running such a great leg in leg one, I was
Ooh.
so confident. I'm like, we can do this. I am in Hong Kong. We have a
Yeah.
lead.
The
I
first
can be
thing-
able to get information. The airports don't seem so scary
I know,
anymore.
I know. So the first half of leg one, we were feeling so encouraged because it's like, oh my God, we can do this. Because up to that point, you don't know, how well your competition.
You don't know
is.
and you don't know if you're going to be that team that goes home on the
Yeah,
first
and so
leg. That's
you just don't
everybody
know who's
needs
good,
here.
who's the team to beat. And so when we got there first, we were just stunned. It's like, wow,
Yeah.
we might be one of the good teams, and that was confirmed
Like,
throughout the
wow,
race.
that's kind of cool.
Yeah, we're a really good team.
Not
So.
too shabby for a couple kids from the hood.
Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah, I think it did seem like, when it was going well for you, you were having the time of your lives out there.
Wouldn't you?
Yeah, I mean, you see the moments where I'm at my peak, and I'm so happy, but as we know, it doesn't take much to send me down that kind of spiral, and you guys saw it.
Yeah.
Fortunate, I feel like in leg 5 we had that big double U-turn vote, and someone had mentioned on Discord, and they just really were very perceptive. They said, I feel like Jonathan and Anna were never the same after leg 5, and something about that leg it took a piece out of me, and I really was never the same after that. Yeah.
But overall, would you ever do it again? Knowing what you know now, would you do it again?
Ooh.
I don't have an answer for that question.
Check
Check back with me in a couple of weeks.
I want to be honest, Jesse. This is my problem. I'm too honest. I'm not too. I always tell the truth. And she always says you're too.
Disclose way too much information.
It would depend. I'm glad I did this, and that I found this out about myself, obviously, and I feel like now that I have some of the tools that I need to manage this thing, I could do better, and I so want to be able to turn back the clock with this knowledge that I have now and do it again. Oh, more than anything, like it almost brings tears to my eyes. But
it's been very hard. It's been very hard.
I can only imagine.
Yeah.
It's just great that we are in a place where we have full understanding and we're able to speak to that, regardless of public opinion and what people see and what this very heavily edited show actually presents. We know the truth, and I think we're at peace with that.
Yeah, and this is all temporary. In the end, you have each other, you have your situation, you know what it is, right?
Yeah. I was telling Mike, I'm like, nobody prepares you for the double experience. One of running the race. And thankfully I journaled and I wrote everything down, the experience, my feelings, what I saw, what I smelled. And I can go back to that and still get chills when I read my comments on skydiving and the really cool things that that he did do that I enjoyed. But now we have this other completely different experience, where millions of people get to see the worst of you.
Yeah.
And it's definitely interesting, and nothing prepares you for that.
Yeah.
The
great news, Jess, is that I can only go up from here, right?
Well, there you go. Look on the bright side, man.
I'm pretty sanguine about it at this point. Like, we only go from here, so.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for talking to us and for being so candid. It's been a genuine pleasure talking to you, and wish you all the best in the future.
Thank you so much,
Thank you
Jess.
so much,
Thanks.
Jess.
This is RHAP. We know reality TV.